Is it working?
You got the blue bottle blues.
That's the wrong one. Hi, Peculiars.
Got the blue bottle blues. When you wake up in the night, don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. 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 There is no antidote.
So hi, guys. I kind of messed that up just for a minute. So if you accidentally saw me freaking out for like 2 seconds, we're fine now. Yeah, this is what happens when I try to run the show by myself without Davey. But Davey's here now, and so is Bethany Brookshire. And so hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
And this is my almost dinosaur mask. It's as close as I can come, really. And
I'm super
you know,
jealous.
my
I
real
want a
face.
dinosaur mask.
Yeah, well, I wore it as a monster in our last show, and it was very nice. What's funny is I just tried to take off my sweatshirt, and I did it, and it's really hard to do that over horns. So I learned a new thing.
All I
about
have
that.
is this rock that I thought was a fossil when I picked it up in the Sahara in Morocco, and it is not a fossil.
What is
It's
it?
just a rock.
It's a nice rock, though. It's a really
It's a good
For,
rock.
for all the podcast listeners
like,
listening,
there's
it's a
stuff in
really
there.
nice
Like,
rock.
look at that.
It is
It's
a really nice rock.
rock.
It's got like architecture.
Yeah, and it's got like
I like it.
completely different
Oh, there we go.
colors
Nice and
and
big.
textures on the inside. You see that there? Right? And then on the outside, it's brown.
It's very nice.
It was such a cool rock. I actually
But
wrote
it's
an
not
entire
a
article
fossil.
on it for Scientific American asking if it was something cool. And then I talked with the geology department at the Smithsonian. It wasn't.
Well, it's still cool, in my opinion, I think.
It is mud, apparently.
It is mud, but it's hard mud.
It's hard mud, and it's
hard,
nice
rocky-
mud. And it's mud
rocky
from
mud,
the
yeah.
Sahara. So that's cool.
So there you go. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I also have horns on my face. I'm about to take them off, though, to reveal something really exciting. It's hair. Yeah, I grew some hair.
Woo.
Like, I've got hair. I almost have hair as long as Davey's. Almost.
One day
Actually,
you'll
the three
catch
of
me.
us are in a club now.
That's right. Yeah, we all go to the same barber out. Clearly.
Yeah. So slight alteration in plans for this evening's show for those of you who are new here. Oh, I'm seeing comments come in now, and we've got Kristen from Seattle, Randy is here, Anthro Girl, Sudreka, who is amazing and gets up for these shows, bless her heart, Lorelai, who actually got a free book last time, and I is on its way there. Davey is joining from the kitchen. It does look like you're in the
Yes.
kitchen. Are you in the kitchen?
Davey
You
is
are
in the kitchen. There's a little. I literally just walked in the door. I mean, literally. I had to pick Kenobi up from the vet, and so here I am.
How
Yeah.
is your dog? How is the dog?
He's doing okay. He's got a little tummy trouble. It's just he had to have an ultrasound today, so he was there all day at the vet, and he's got some tummy troubles. But it's just a little inflammation.
Poor little
Switch
man.
his diet. He'll be okay. Kenobi will be okay.
And so that was why. So Davey, you'd be really proud of me. I was all excited. I started the show, and then I accidentally played the closing credits instead of the opening one. But just for a second, I was like, "Oh, that's wrong," and so I switched it. But it's fine. So anyway, we had a slight change of plans. So many of you know that I'm about to go on book tour. And one of the interesting things about being on book tour is just how not in control of anything you actually are most of the time. So, for instance, we lost one of our venues and then we had to get different booksellers and it's been crazy. And I'm going to be selling my own book at one of the events. So I'll act as seller. I'll be like, I'm sending you a book and now I am signing it. Riley has run into a situation. So Riley is supposed to be with us live tonight, and Riley arrived where she was going, and she's like, well, I'll just set up in the hotel for my thing that I'm doing tonight. And they were like, hotel? So she flew somewhere, and there's no hotel.
It is revealed in the video. Riley's stranded in Montana.
Yeah. So I'm on my way to Montana, too, so now I'm a little bit nervous. But no, I have a hotel.
Yeah.
So she's looking for a place to put her head tonight, and a whole bunch of other things happen, but was super resourceful. And Bethany and Riley actually did a video talking to each other that we're going to play for you in a little bit. So you're going to get the whole feel. And then we're all going to chat live about how amazing the book is, and also about fossilized plants and maybe fossilized poop, because I want to, because I
have some of that in a bag somewhere.
It's a good place for it. I know. Sadie's like, oh no. I know. It's very, very bad. But Kristen Messon said we can talk about Insomniac Anatomy Academy instead, because her mind is blown regularly by Bethany. Kristen, I want you to know that I am trying to convince Bethany that that's her next book, and I even offered to help her write the book proposal. So that's how committed I am to this. So you never know. But Kathleen is here. Sadie's here. Sureka, who has also just come off book tour, recognizes the pain and suffering that is being stranded somewhere without a hotel room. And it's funny, she flew in. It's not, what did they think she was going to sleep in the plane?
I mean, they found her a place, but it's like 45 minutes away. And then like it's a whole thing. Yes, if I were her, I'd be demanding 3 times my normal fee, just in like pain and suffering. Yeah. Right.
But to be fair, it's still going to be an awesome show. We're going to talk about plants and fossils, and we've got a special song lined up, actually. Cord Ravenswood has decided to come up with a song that I can't even pronounce the title of, related to certain fossilized plants. Kathleen says she's like, I'm at rehearsal with my Bluetooth earpods in. Hell yeah. This is very good. Oh,
what are you rehearsing?
Yeah, what are you rehearsing, Kathleen? She does a lot of shows. She does lighting and show running, and I'm pretty sure she's a secret producer of like Netflix or something in her spare times. It's probably not.
See, if she's doing a musical or something and she's like in the booth, my goal now is to make her laugh so hard she disrupts the show.
There we go. That would be the good stuff. Yeah, Ryan has some
fantastic. Suddenly ruined.
I could actually tell you. Last week I was filming something for work from a like projector booth at the back of an auditorium, and I thought it'd be okay to eat dinner, but then like it's a very tiny booth, and like I had a bag of chips, and it sounded like so insanely loud inside the booth, but I don't know if the sound made it out. Like I never got any dirty looks back at me, but I was like, oh my god, every chip I take out of this bag is earth-shatteringly loud.
Backstage crew this time to play, and she's usually in the lighting booth. Okay, so it was lighting. So you're not a secret producer at Netflix. Okay, just checking. So anyway, we're gonna get to that, but I thought what we'll do is we'll introduce the show. I'll do the announcements, and then we'll show the clip. We'll have some music with the impossible to pronounce title of Cord Ravenswood's song. And then we'll come back and we'll do like live chat and questions, and you guys can get in the feed and talk about some of the stuff that Riley and Bethany talk about. And we'll do some version of the author quiz. Should be interesting.
We will. We didn't get a chance to talk about this pregame. You and Bethany could do the quiz, or we can choose one of the peculiars as the official question answerer, and the peculiar could be quizzed.
That would be okay. Peculiars, do you guys have nominations? Who do you want to do this? This is really great. I like this quite a lot.
Or if someone wants to volunteer as tribute.
Right. Who was I was trying to explain to somebody that like being first is sometimes taking a step forward, and other times not being fast enough to take a step back while everyone else backs away from you. You're still first. Okay, so Let's get to the announcements first, and then we will roll tape, and the show will go on. Okay. I have a whole bunch of announcements that are not even on here too. But one of them is that we're getting a brand new website. So for years we have tonight is turning very silly. Yes, it probably will. The Peculiar Book Club webpage has been something we've been struggling to kind of perfect for a long time. Now you will get to it by writing peculiarbookclub.com. That will be the new website. That will take you straight there, and we are basically making it so it's super easy for you to get to everything that you need. And thank you, Lorelai. I'm glad Lorelai's like, I love this. It's crazy. It's peculiar, is what it is. And that is my biggest announcement for Peculiar. It will be so much easier. It's almost going to function the way an app does. When you get up there, it'll work on your phone, and you can easily click through to the podcast, to other kinds of things. It's going to make everything quicker and easier. It has an easy link to our store. We have our own bookshop.com shop where we put all the books that we have on our show, so you can order them from indie places. It goes right to the podcast and to all of our other apps. So it's super cool. I'm also getting a new website as a result of that, because I am going on book tour next week for the intermediaries. Yeah, I'm going to be in New York for 2 events, and then in Boston, actually Cambridge, and then DC. I'm going to LA, and then I will also be in Montana. I'll be in Missoula, because Anya Jaber, who is one of our Peculiars, is bringing me to Missoula, Montana, which is super cool. And all that's happening immediately. So if I seem kind of like, that's probably why, I hope that sound came through. Is that nice?
Oh, it came through.
All right, forward. Thank you. Next one. Davey, how do I get to the next slide? If I keep going like this, does that work? Thank you. So book clubs, Goodreads, you can listen to our podcast. Our podcast is grown prodigiously. We now have Peculiar Mystery Club, Peculiar Movie Club, and Peculiar Book Club new releases, which we just had one with Alison Tira, and she did a book called Uncredited about stuff that gets stolen from women, of which there is much. Like, she could have written a much longer book, basically. Our YouTube channel, and join our Facebook group. And of course, we'd love it if you support us on Patreon, because that's how we keep the lights on. Forward or backward or slide. There we go. Newsletter. If you're not subscribed, I bet you all are, frankly, but if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the newsletter. It's how you get links, but also I'm funny, or at least I think I'm funny. I should start sending you guys. I don't know if you've gotten these. If you are subscribed to the other newsletter, the Brandy Schillace newsletter, I've been sending people links to my new series called Is It Nazi? It's like the Yahtzee board, but it says, is it Nazi? And it's all about like stuff Trump does. And then I just go, is it Nazi? And the answer is yes, but they're short, helpful essays to show you how that works.
Subscribed immediately.
Andrew Girl says I am so funny.
I subscribed immediately just for Is It Nazi.
Yeah, it's really fun. It took me longer to actually create the logo that looks like the Yahtzee board than it took me to write the essays. The latest one was about, having parades on your birthday. Is it Nazi? Yeah, probably. So you should do that.
I live in DC, okay? We're not hype. We're not.
No, not excited.
Nobody's excited.
Next after newsletter is, I forget what comes next. Oh yeah, you should join. I know I talk about this all the time. I always feel really bad telling you guys to subscribe, because I feel like everything should be free, except then we would all starve to death. So please do join for as little as $5 a month. You get all the VIP shows and lots of other cool stuff. We are deciding to do in-house kind of creative people making swag for this coming year, which is super cool too. Oh yes, the best part, book cocktail. Mm-hmm. Okay. The green Gingersaurus. And it's
runaway winner.
Runaway winner. Yeah, like there were so many votes for this one. It's a mocktail that you can add alcohol to. You can add rum to it, but actually this one was built as a mocktail. It's got mint, it's got lime, simple syrup, it's got honeydew melon in chunks, ginger beer, fresh ginger, and cinnamon powder. And it's green and it's amazing. And that's a magnolia from Kat's Magnolia Tree, which is beautiful. Her photographs, I'm telling you, always beautiful. But she has a big pink, I think it's a Chinese magnolia, green gingersaurus sounds like a dino kitty cat. It does, doesn't it? It's very tasty and summery.
And then you up level it like your Pokemon, and it becomes like a verdant Gigantosaurus.
Yeah, I like. Is that what happens when you add the rum?
Yeah,
like you add the rum, and then it becomes a verdant Gigantosaurus. I like.
And then it's a Charizard, like
Wait, is Charizard? That's not the one that catches on fire, right?
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
It is the one that. Okay, I'm not very good at the Pokemons yet. And next up, of course, is the podcast. Oh, wait, yes, it is. Peculiar Movie Club. Take it away.
We did it. We did our April episode. It may have came out on May 7th, but it's still our April episode. We did it. The Fly, 1986 is The Fly. And I took Bill's advice from last episode, and I did go back and check out the ending of the 1950s one, and which I'm so glad I did, because it's one of the most iconic endings, right, in movie history, with the little head on the fly body going, "Help me! Help me!"
Is that where that comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comes from The Fly.
Love it.
I did not know that. I honestly didn't.
This one, the 1986 Fly, is credited with inventing the catchphrase, "Be afraid, be very afraid." So that comes from this movie.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, me and my movie partner Darren, we had a really, really good in-depth talk. So it just came out yesterday. So go check out The Fly. Our episode on The Fly this month, the May episode, in honor of our next book, Tap Dancing on Everest. We are going to do our first ever documentary. So we're going to do the documentary Sherpa that came out in 2015, I believe.
Oh, I will watch that.
And this looks like there was like there's some Hollywood movies that have to do with Mount Everest, but like this seemed way, way more important to watch. And so it's not free to stream anywhere. We're gonna all have to go rent it wherever you rent your things, but that's okay. But yeah, so awesome. Me and Darren were joking. We're like, with the documentary, I think the themes are going to be pretty easy to figure out. Like,
probably.
Documentaries kind of wear the themes on their sleeves. Yeah.
There'll be little subtitles. The theme.
Yeah, exactly.
In case you missed it. So, that's awesome. I actually would watch that. I love documentaries anyway, and I love mountains. As you all know, if you follow any of my Instagram feeds, I looked like a Bond villain. And some of it's the haircut, but I had these big glasses, and I was in Chamonix, and I just looked like I was about to be like, "So we meet again, Mr. Bond." You know,
it was the setting and the black and the haircut and the sunglasses. Yeah, it all worked together.
I don't want you to talk.
I actually had to have.
I
want you to die. Yeah. I actually had my first haircut. I had to actually cut the sides. How about that? Yeah. Sadie Simmons says, "Blockbuster, I can lend you my card if I can find it." Blockbuster, the good old days.
Mel, who's like elder millennial and up, somewhere when they like clean out all of our worldly goods, they will find Blockbuster cards. Like they don't die, they don't go away.
Yeah.
I think they actually have sex and proliferate, and they like there's little baby ones that sort of turn up, and they continue on, carry on.
I think I could find mine. I think there's some.
Now I wonder if they like can crossbreed with other unused cards, like a grocery store card that you had for a grocery store chain that you lived near when you were 15, but like you haven't lived there in 20 years. Like maybe they have babies.
And I just had a thought.
The block.
You are just describing a niche.
Yes.
You're describing a niche, just like like the niche that you have the wolf predator, apex predator thing. That Blockbuster cards are their own niche. You realize that? This is we all have a couple of these in a drawer somewhere. Okay. Before I get too crazy. Oh no, Kathleen has to go. She says the run through is about to start. I will watch the rest later. Bye, Kat.
You're laughing backstage.
We are now going to launch from this into the video of Bethany talking to Riley, so we get to see Riley, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little music and we'll have more chat. So now, you guys, that doesn't mean that you can't talk in the chat. I want to see chat happening this whole time. I want to feel the chat. You know what I'm saying? So get in there and talk.
This isn't like when the substitute teacher puts on a movie in class. All right, everybody.
You gotta be paying attention. The other thing is we have a picture. Ryan sent us a picture of some Ryan sent us an unsolicited wood pic, of petrified wood, and so we will also be sharing
That's
that
what they
later in
all
the show.
say. If your wood becomes
That's what they all
petrified for more than 5 hours, please seek medical attention.
Yes, I kind of am sad for. I love our podcast listeners so very much, but I sort of am sad that you can't see my facial expressions when we have these conversations. I sort of feel like you should probably check in every now and again to watch me go. Wah! And Davey's very stoic, but I'm definitely not. All right, onward to the mini show.
Okay, it might take a second to pull. If I would have
Okay.
pulled it up ahead of time, it would have just auto played, and that would have been awkward. So let's make it awkward this way. And,
Okay, no, good.
We'll see.
Everyone, I'm so glad we were
Ooh.
able to make this happen. I am here with the
Hi,
fabulous
Bethany.
Riley Black, author of the award-winning, best-selling book, The Last Days of the Dinosaurs, to talk about her newest creation, When the Earth Was Green. Riley, I am so glad we could make this happen.
Oh, me too. I'm so sorry that I can't be there live. You know, sometimes you take the trip, sometimes the trip takes you. But I'm glad that we get to talk for a little bit about possible
Sometimes
plans.
you get stuck in another time zone.
Right? Sometimes you have a schedule for the day and you find out like, no, that's not what's happening. And I go, but we're doing this now. We have figured out the timeline. I don't want to say fix the timeline. We figured out the timeline for today.
We're going in and out of time. It's wibbly wobbly. It's timey-wimey. We're going to make
it happen. It's a
paleo
thing. Yeah.
Yes. So I wanted to talk to you about this book, which I was so lucky as to read before it came out because I'm cool that way. And one of the things that really struck me about this book is that it is, above all things, a relationship book. It's like a relationship guide to paleo. And I was wondering if you could talk about why you chose to kind of write a book that was about plants, kind of about relationships.
Part of it's because of my background. So I know a fair bit about botany, but I'm not a botanist by profession. I'm more of a vertebrate paleontology person. That's what I've been doing for a long time. But I really want to highlight plants and their importance in these relationships and in these ecosystems. And on top of that, like, it is hard to write a 15-chapter book where you're bringing personality to plants in each and every chapter and kind of making them the star as much as I want to, but without putting myself in the narrative. Like, if we're visiting these prehistoric places and, you know, there aren't people kind of narrating this, how do I do this in a way that doesn't feel like I'm anthropomorphizing the plants too much? And it felt like, you know, we relate to animals. You know, we love and relate to animals so much, and talking about their interactions seemed like the best way to bring these stories to life, because that's really what it's about. Like, the whole problem that I want to address with the book in paleo is that so often it's like, you know, there's a T-Rex, they're standing in a clearing, or maybe not. Maybe it's like a Pokemon card where it's just they got a background or something like that. And when we think about prehistoric life, so often it's like it's just that critter or just that organism, when like the whole reason they exist and the way that they exist in that prehistoric world has to do with their ecology, has to do with relationships. And that's why like the subtitle involves that phrase, evolution's greatest romance, not in that it's, you know, particularly romantic. Objectively, we can't say whether it is or it isn't.
Oh, I don't know. The
But-
saber cat rolling in the early catnip was intensely romantic.
That's true. Yeah, I did put that in there for our sapphic readers. Just
It
like a
was
little, the little tidbit. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what I want people to see, you know, after reading this book, is I don't necessarily want people to remember like, you know, the genus names or any of that, but just like being able to look at a forest, look at a plant, look at some, you know, bee pollinating a flower and see the relationship there and how far that goes back.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. I mean, I think about your book a lot because I think of like, it's so true of humans, and there are no humans in this book, but it's true of humans too. We are created by our environments as much as we create the environments around us. And so it was really cool to see that kind of happen throughout time, right? These two organisms kind of creating each other in a way through their relationship.
Yeah, it's like, what are you made of, right? It's like, well, the food that I eat was where does that come from? And what's that ecosystem that gives rise to it, or at least the mechanics, you know, on a farm that we rely on photosynthetic organisms that, you know, basically capture carbon out of the air and turn it into something bodily, which then animals munch on and incorporate that into themselves. And all these little threads that you can start pulling at, and it leads you to this whole other like big perspective. And that's what I love about this kind of paleoecology, this kind of storytelling, is that like it gives you a sense of place. And so often, like, especially as a writer, I talk about like how the sausage gets made, how the science gets done. Here's our opinion from researcher A, here's our opinion from researcher B, here's researcher C saying they're both wrong, whatever. Like that's the standard of science journalism, right? And after a while, I just wanted to I want to play with my prehistoric organisms. I want to have that sandbox moment where I bring all my dinosaur figures out there and kind of imagine what that world would have been like.
Yeah, I love that because it's so much more, I mean, if I have to describe radiocarbon dating like one more time. But and there's fascination in that, and there's interest, and there's so much value. But also in the end, that's where we're going. Like we, the writers, the scientists, we are picturing these ancient places in our heads. So each of your chapters is opened with an animal and a plant relationship. And I was wondering, how did you decide to pick the relationships that you did? So, for example, we've already talked that one of the relationships you highlight is between saber cats and catnip, which is amazing. But there's also a bunch of other really interesting animal plant kind of confluences that you bring together. Why did you pick the ones that you picked?
I wanted to pick a variety, right? Because a book like this, it can't be 100% comprehensive. Like you would not be able to lift the thing if I included everything about this. So I wanted to pick some things that were relatively familiar, but also some things that were relatively surprising. Like there's a chapter about the Morrison Formation, about the Apatosaurus, our beloved Brontosaurus, my beloved Brontosaurus I've been writing about, for more than a decade now.
Always first in our hearts.
Yes. Miss her every day. But why was the dinosaur shaped like that? Like so often, like I write about these animals and go, ooh, that's so unusual. I want to see in the museum or whatever. Like, why does it have that shape? And I hadn't really heard anybody like approach it like that way before. We talk about, like arms races between predators and prey and like, evolutionary lineages and all that stuff. But like this is an animal that gets to be 80 feet long and more than 20 tons to basically eat plants as quickly as it possibly can. It is basically a big biological plant vacuum to get as big as possible, as fast as possible. So all those other things play into it. But the dinosaur is shaped that way because of plants. And some of the chapters that just like popped up as I was writing, it's like, I need something else. There's something that's like missing. It's like monkeys rafting across the ancient Atlantic. And I've written about this a couple of times in the past. And what really gets me is like, this isn't just like a one-time event. This is something that had been proposed almost a century ago, right? This idea that, okay, we got continental drift happening. There's no land bridge. They must have gotten there some way. Rafting probably did it. And that explains why we have, spider monkeys and capuchin monkeys and those primates in, Central and South America today. It turns out this happened probably at least 3 times, probably a bunch more, that this was a regular part of the ancient world. And it's something that's as weird and unusual as it sounds. Like we can see these processes still happening today. We can see lizards that raft between islands in different parts of the world. You can see videos of basically these rafts of vegetation that still have upright trees on them with like fruit and stuff on it. So it's not just kind of like a whole bunch of, but like when we talk about these rafts of vegetation, it really is this big clump that gets taken off the coast and sent across the ocean. And it somehow works for these animals. And you mentioned catnip as well. It's like that's watching my own cats at home, watching my cat Strata in particular roll around in cat and think like, how old is that? How like when did this relationship start? And finding out that it's much more ancient than I expected, like it had to go in. And you actually get credit for one of the chapters as well, the one on ancient autumn that takes place in prehistoric, in Pliocene Germany. Because I remember I was writing this book and you asked about like, well, when did autumn start? It's like, I don't know. Like it's got to be ancient. This has to be a very old response, the kind of seasonal senescence that gives us all these beautiful colors. And thankfully, there was a paper about these autumn leaves found at this German fossil site. And it's, autumn is probably much, much older than that, but we don't have the direct evidence yet. But like as soon as I found that, like that has to go in there. Like I don't know why I never thought of that question before myself. It's like, when was the first autumn? How did this relationship start to develop? So I wanted to pick things that like highlighted not just interaction, but just like a different way of asking questions about prehistoric life, about trying to pick things that were relatively familiar that I feel like we could kind of work backwards and go back to their origins, or say like some of these like interactions have been happening in one form or another for a very, very long time.
And I love that because reading your books always gives me so many fun questions and it answers some of them, but it also makes me go, oh, well, what about this? And what about this? It makes me see the world in a new way. Like I look at the title, When the Earth Was Green, and I'm like, there were other options. The Earth
Yeah.
could have been red or orange.
I know, and I kind of love that when you see a plant with like red leaves or like a different color and stuff like that, not even in the fall, but just like that's the color that is. Like, well, wait, how did this happen and why? And this is the stuff that keeps us going, right? It reminds me of one of my favorite bits from the log of from the Sea of Cortez that John Steinbeck wrote, like way back when. Just saying it's like it's curiosity. If we're just, of course, it's important to catalog and do the systematics and the taxonomy and all these things that make the basics of science go. But what drives is just all these little questions, whether we get the answer or not. It's good to wonder,
Yeah. But I love that you provide all of these amazing answers. And actually, one of the other things I want to talk about is that you're so gentle. And I know this is because of your exceptional experience as a paleontology writer, is that you have developed this very kind gentleness in dispelling myths of paleontology. Because
oh my goodness,
there's just so many. And so one of my favorite ones is, this idea that when we place dinosaurs in particular in like dioramas or in our heads, we put them in jungles.
Yes.
And I love how you were like, there weren't jungles.
Yeah, that wasn't really a thing. I tried to do as positively as I can. Like you said, I've developed this over many years, sort of speaking to the public. It's challenging when somebody comes to your talk about dinosaurs in general, and they're like, I think that Brontosaurus was a deep sea fish eating reptile. Prove me wrong in front of a room of people. And I don't want to go, it's like that. No, sweetie, no. And you're just like, what an interesting and fascinating idea. Let's unpack this one a little bit. So that experience.
That's so cool that you think that. That's
yes.
the thing that you think.
I mean, what I love is like that was a unique one, but how many of these things is stuff that like scientists used to think, or like I've seen like bandied about as hypotheses before. So it gives me an easy way to approach it. It's like, well, we used to think that, but now we think this. But yeah, like I had to write that chapter. I was almost going to cut it out because it felt too close on the heels of what I was talking about in the last days of the dinosaurs. So they talk about these early Paleocene forests, right? I didn't want to repeat myself too much, but when I had that mental image of the Titanoboa kind of peeking out from the water lilies, so I was like, well, now I got to do it. Like the snake needs to be in the book.
Oh,
but more importantly, like you said, it's, when we envision the past so often, like a lot of it comes from movies and media, and it's not just Jurassic Park. I remember seeing Fantasia as a kid, which was made in the 1940s. Yes. Oh my gosh, that whole Stravinsky suite where they do Rite of Spring.
Spring.
Yes, not
so
Spring.
Good.
Spring. Yes. Showing life through time, like as best as we understood it, and all the dinosaurs are in these humid, steaming kind of jungles, like these dense environments. And it's like, how does that animal move in this space? It doesn't work. Just by virtue of if you were to plop all those dinosaurs down in Jurassic Park in those kind of like dense jungles, they would start flattening stuff left and right and fundamentally changing what the landscape looked like, because that's what mega herbivores and large animals do. And I just love that point of interaction, like just by being alive. It's not just eating plants, but it's like trampling them down where these animals choose to walk, like the seeds that they're spreading around. I talk a bit about this in the chapter involving the earliest flowering plants, how there are already birds and stuff eating those seeds and spreading them through the forest and kind of setting this background level of early angiosperms in these conifer dominated forests. And I really want to give people that sense of like, okay, think about what this animal is doing, these day-to-day interactions. How does that change a landscape just through repetition, just through the everyday? Like I'm looking outside right now at this Montana hillside, and it looks, static. I see a whole bunch of trees. I see the clouds. I see a magpie here and there, and it looks like, okay, this is more or less the same as it's always been. And yet there is so much life and interaction going on right now that if you do the deep time lapse photo of this, we would see so much change. And that was part of my hope for this book, was kind of like offer that perspective a little bit, to kind of like look through time, whether it's forwards or backwards. Like, okay, based upon, it's like a big if-then statement from computer coding back when I took it in high school, where it's like, okay, if then, big herbivore in a forest, how does it change it? What does it make?
It actually makes me think a little bit about how I wonder how much our willingness to see these ancient animals in like jungles or something where upon reflection they don't fit comes from our own experience in environments where we don't fit.
Yeah, I like that. Like it seems different. It seems primordial. And in fact, when I give talks about this book as I go, it's like one of the things I point out, because I'm always watching, like as I'm traveling, like what did the forest look like near here? What's the plant life like? Can I fold this in some way? How weird so many of our forests look, because we're in this megafaunal lull. This is why the book ends off on the Ice Age, right? Is that we used to have mammoths and mastodons and giant ground sloths and giant armadillos and things that ate them, this whole faunal complement that just is not here anymore. So what we think of as like this is a wild sort of untrampled space, like it seems very ancient, it's actually pretty dang new. Like if a lot of these critters from even 8,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago were still here, the landscape would look fundamentally different.
So that was something that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, is something that you and I talked about recently that is sort of reflected in this book, is the idea, and this is an idea that I've been thinking about, and I know we talked about it, that there's always been certain kind of niche, whatever, you know what I mean. There's always been specific niches that animals will rise or not or evolve to fill. And one of those that we ended up talking about was that of wolves.
Yes.
Right. I look at them in kind of the modern context. I look at them in terms of like wolves are gone now, and now coyotes are, adapting to kind of become the new wolves. There's always space for something that isn't a picky eater, hunts in packs, will eat big things, and is fast. That's what you got. And teeth, also teeth. And I love that you include a wolf with hooves. And I would like you to talk about the wolf with the hooves, and also just the general category of things with hooves, because there are so many things that went through periods where they were like, oh yes, we had a crocodile with a hooves, and like birds with hooves. I don't know if they're birds with hooves.
Not so far as I know, but some of those toenails do get pretty. Yeah, we'll get there. I think so. There are like 10,000 species of birds alive today. Like, yeah, eventually they're gonna arrive to it, because that's the thing, right? Like even like with crocs in general, we're like, oh, they look so ancient, they look so primeval. It's like what we think of an alligator or a crocodile has evolved over and over and over again. Like they keep coming onto land. It's like, I'm gonna go back in the water and do the semi-aquatic ambush predator thing again. And for about the past 300 million years, there's been something doing it. In terms of the wolves with hooves, which I love because like it's so tempting to go like wolves with hooves, like that you just want to like. It almost sounds funny to go wolves with hooves because you're wolves. So they were technically called Masonicas. They're not wolves at all, but like an earlier form of carnivorous mammals. So like you have the asteroid impact that ends the Cretaceous 66 million years ago. Mammal evolution takes off through the Paleocene and the Eocene, those first two time periods afterwards. The carnivorous mammals that got big, like the ancestors of cats and dogs, were tiny. They were kind of on the ecological margins living in these forests. The big things, the big carnivorous things, were these archaic groups, Masonichids among them. And having a hoofed kind of foot that's like good at spreading on mucky ground makes sense in a world that is a greenhouse planet. It's warmer, it's more humid. There are semi-tropical forests everywhere. Our own primate ancestors spread all across the planet during this time, what we think of as like, tropical forests now being very restricted to like the equatorial region. That's relatively recent in Earth's history. It's only been the past 20 million years that we've even had like grasslands, for example. And when you have a grassland with ground that's like hard and well packed, and you don't have these big stands of forests everywhere, it's much more patchy. That's what's good for basically running when you get endurance predators like actual wolves. It's basically a mouth that has adapted to run over long distances versus something like a cat that lives more like in forest environments as an ambush predator is going to jump out. So basically the vegetation in a way dictates some of these other forms and how they come and go. To the point, like just since I mentioned cats, I think this is in the saber-toothed cat chapter as well. Cat coloration in terms of like spots, stripes, things like that, when we looked at wild cat species around the world, it doesn't track in terms of their family relationships. It tracks in terms of environment. So cats that live in these closed environments, maybe they're a little bit arboreal, things like, clouded leopards and fishing cats and stuff. They tend to have these long blobby spots. Tigers are the only cats with vertical stripes, and they live in environments where you have a lot of, bamboo type plants that they're kind of moving through these undergrowth environments where their camouflage is a bit different versus something like a lion or a cougar. They're living in these open grasslands, so like a grassy kind of like dun color is going to help conceal them a bit more. So like even like what we think of, like what strikes us as beautiful or important about some of these organisms is so influenced by how open or closed that habitat is, basically what the plants are doing. And it's not just, animals are evolving in their own way and plants are kind of evolving alongside them. It's like, no, it's really like down to how they look, like so many small, basic, sometimes even invisible things. They're constantly changing each other.
And so I wanted to actually follow up on that, because one of the things I loved about your book is that when we think of animals kind of in relationship to plants and co-evolving together, we kind of assume that it's nice. Like we assume that everybody's happy about this.
Yes.
That there is somehow a positive and like it's a good relationship. And some of these relationships could honestly use some therapy. So I wonder if you could talk about like the kind of negative aspects of some of these relationships.
Yeah, because honestly, the book was kept a little bit more positive, just because, especially in paleontology, we have such a habit of emphasizing like dominance. The reign of the dinosaurs. This group is dominant over this other one. It's a battle for existence. Nature red in tooth and claw, and they want to take the foot off that particular gas pedal a little bit. But like you said, a lot of these interactions are not necessarily nice. There's a chapter in the book about a Megacerops, this big rhino type thing, this brontothere eating a hackberry tree. And the hackberry tree can basically it can detect that something is shaking it and vibrating it and tearing its leaves off and sending basically chemical signals into its leaves that are, not going to make it taste quite as good. And we know that, some trees can communicate this when they're under attack by insects. They, create this biochemical signal that lets other trees know, and those trees start building up, tannins and things like that in their leaves. Even the fact that herbivores that we think of, today, like elephants and horses, they have specially adapted teeth because plants have developed so much silica, so much abrasive stuff, that if these herbivores didn't have this way to kind of have like a conveyor belt of teeth going in one way or another, they would wear down their teeth before they even hit adulthood and wouldn't be able to make it. So like some of this, like it gets a little bit gnarly, even amongst plants themselves, talking about open or closed habitats. And a relatively closed canopy, there's not a whole lot of understory. There's not a whole lot of undergrowth because the sunlight's not hitting, because you have multiple tiers of these close growing trees blocking out a lot of that sunlight and affecting the plants below. But in a habitat where you have a lot of mega herbivores, if big, Triceratops or Mastodon or what have you, like keeping things relatively open, the sunlight can hit underneath a lot more, and you get a much different sort of pattern of biodiversity. Because like in any given environment, there's only so many resources in the soil, in the air, in the water, in terms of those living things themselves. So yeah, it's even though this is evolutionary romance, like you said, we all have arguments and tension points in our relationships, and that's certainly true for evolution as well.
Yeah, I actually, when I thought about that, when I was reading the section with Megatherium and the hackberry, my one thought was, yeah, and now we know trees can scream.
I know, it's a little bit upsetting how much we're learning about how much plants can sense and how much they can tell. But that's also that's one of the things that I wanted to do about this book. It's just, even though not very much of it is like, imagine what it's like to be a tree, because it seems so far removed from our experience, that's difficult to, assess what that would even look like. But just thinking about, it's like, well, what do plants want, for lack of a better term? Like, how are they navigating these habitats, and how are these interactions kind of shaping what they look like? It's one of my favorite things. I think it's the simplest thing, and people keep bringing it up as they read this book, but it's like, a tree is not a natural group. We can look at something and say, oh yeah, that's a tree most of the time anyway. But it's just, it's just a shape. It's a shape that evolves over and over and over and over again, because it's a particularly good shape for plants to be. You get to grow up high, get a whole bunch of sunlight, and you don't have to bother with all the stuff at your roots for the most part. And I love that, like how this, like you said, there's certain niches, certain shapes that just work. And even after a mass extinction, even after all these big change up of like, what kind of plants are growing, all these groups that have come and gone continue to persist. How we get these variations along these themes. It's like a leitmotif that kind of continues throughout evolutionary history, even if there are subtle differences.
Well, this has been lovely. I wish we could talk more, but
Me
here we
too.
are. But this is beautiful. And I think it helps people really grasp kind of what you're aiming at with the book. The idea that, these relationships are what shape all of us over time. And they're just going to keep doing it. And I think that's beautiful. So thank you so much.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
We're all muted. There we go.
Now I'm not. Now I'm back.
Okay.
Can you hear
there
me?
we go.
Okay.
All right, we're all back.
Can y'all hear me? I'm just checking now.
Yes, we're all back.
Sareka's like, I forgot that wasn't live. It was great. It was really good.
Sorry, I wanted to like bust into the comments myself, but it wouldn't hook up my YouTube thing.
Oh no.
And it wouldn't hook up. And I had things. And yeah.
You had things to say.
But
Bethany,
yes, I don't know about you.
wanna...
My life has gotten increasingly more awkward now that I know that trees can scream. Like, oh.
Sorry, this is our megafauna in the house. This is Wallace.
Who
He just came by to say hi.
So mega. Yes, you're very big.
Nice done, Bethany, says Lorelai. It was very lively. Kristen says Bethany needs a talk show. I agree. And also a comment about Wallace being very, very floofy. It was great. You did a great job. Of course, I love watching your anatomy discourse as well.
I feel like we should let Mark know he's on camera in the background.
Mark is finishing dinner in there. Mark, wave.
Yeah.
Wave, lady pause. There's lady pause. Waving. Yeah, we were like trying to sneak in some dinner there. But are you gonna come in and say hi?
I was actually crocheting a sweater, so
lady pause. Finger guns, lady pause. It was a whole band. I thought it was a band. Screaming Trees, that was a band, wasn't it? It was. I thought so. I said that in the comments.
I actually think so. I think about screaming plants all the time now because, especially after reading Riley's book and then learning about screaming plants, one of my favorite things about the summer is picking my own mint and making mint seltzer, which I have right here.
Mint seltzer, very nice.
And I have I want to say 8 or 9 mint plants out there right now. There might be 8. Of various bushinesses, and every day I'm out there and I'm the predator and I'm like do, 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 and then like ha 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 yes,
well,
and then every time I clip it, I can almost hear them go ah!
Well, so I have a big garden as well, but I also have chickens, so I have dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs eat the plants. And what's really interesting is they're very fussy, they're very particular, and they have their favorites. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about, so Riley's book talking about animals and plants and how they co-evolve. My chickens, yes, they want bugs, they want insects, but they love certain kinds of plants. And so they particularly love sorrel, which is in my garden. And if I go into my garden, it's got a gate and everything, and they literally are at the door, like, just like their little chickeny faces plastered to the side, like, is it for me? And I once actually let them in there because I thought, oh, well, they'll go in the garden and they'll like, they'll scrape up the dirt and no, they decimated an entire patch of sorrel, like just ripped it up from the roots. And I thought, wow, like if I had the chickens free ranging, there would be no sorrel or dill or probably anything else, right? And so it was really interesting listening to Riley talk about how the landscape wouldn't look the same if you still had these megafauna in the world.
We're gonna get ourselves some megafauna. No, I was thinking about that as we were talking, and I didn't have time to bring it up. But I mean, for example, we know that buffalo, when there were lots and lots and lots of buffalo, their wallows and stuff changed the makeup of the plains. Their hooves, their hooves slammed and packed down the Great Plains, creating the Great Plains that we have. And without them, actually, the landscape of that ecology is changing. Also, I love that everyone in the comments agreed with me that like hooves is just an amazing word, and we can just all.
We just kind of went nuts, didn't it? We were like wolf hoofykins. We had hooves.
I mean, Riley and I were like restraining ourselves.
But it's true. It's true, and it's also like, for instance, I have 4 chickens. If they were loose all the time out in my yard, I would have no grass at all. There just wouldn't be any. It would be the Great Dust Bowl would be happening here. So, you know, it is fascinating when you think about what kind of landscapes were chickens supposed to be in, you know, and you start thinking about
jungle fowl, technically speaking.
They be what would make sense.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be wild.
Where
Asian
there's not a heavy understory to tear up, I guess. Yeah, Thailand, I believe there's some, or not Thailand. Singapore has some. I know of the original sort. Yeah,
it wasn't just the way Riley described like what they ate. It's her describing how they ate, and like just all the detailed descriptions of just the mashing and the gnashing and the branches and the
like their faces would just be green, like just like
just green everywhere.
I switched a few years ago. I have a salad for lunch every day, and like I just thought about like, man, what do my teeth look like eating salad every day?
Well, this made me think of, I don't know if you guys have seen the social media phenomenon on TikTok. It flash in the pan, here and gone, but it's dinosaur time. And it's this woman on TikTok, and she needs to get more greens in her life. And like, she knows this. And so she just like set up her camera, grabbed a massive fistful of spinach, and just like went to town while playing the Jurassic Park theme.
Nice.
And she calls it dinosaur time. And it went viral. And now like every day there she is, like a big old handful of veggies, right? Doing dinosaur time. And she started including dinosaur facts.
You never know what's going to go viral. You know, I have a lot of dinosaur time, but it's basically me walking around the house bent over like this.
Oh no, but you got to do like this, because famously the bipedal dinosaurs were clappers, not flappers.
That's right, not flappers. That's right. I'm more of a flapper myself.
Riley taught me that. Clappers, not flappers.
I like it. What is this? Wait a minute. Sureka said, I had a typical reviewer number 2 who said dwarfs not dwarves, and snarked about Tolkien's dwarves. So we were talking about hoofed wolves versus hooved wolves. We've got a lot of F's and V's happening here.
Hooved hooves. Because, you know, if you've got a hooved wolf, well, you're going to have a, like, wooved hoof.
Oh, I like it though. and they're the ones who are not hoovering up the plants, right? You've got the hoovers, and then you've got the woovers with the hoovers.
So I should point out that the hooves that Riley is talking about, they're not like horse hooves, not like round, solid dinner plate.
They're more like
like pigs. Think like your cloven.
Or like goats, right? More like clovens.
I think it's a little bit more like pigs, he said, with like the pads underneath, and they're more like flexible.
You guys totally, all right, podcasters, you just missed a little, like, what that's Live Long and Prosper thing that Star Trek. Davey was doing a Star Trek
Vulcan,
the Vulcan Live Long and Prosper kind of thing going on there. Right. Sadie says the dinosaur time person was interviewed on NPR.
Okay, well,
so now you know how to do it.
Since we're bringing her back up,
you know, also the Vulcan salute like this is actually specifically derived from Judaism, and you guys probably already know that. That is the hand thing that over which they put their hands like this, and then they put them over their head to bless you. So when rabbis bless you, they do it with this. Yes.
Oh wait, we have dinosaur time. Look.
Oh
my God.
Fuck. Yes, that's her.
Just brought up dinosaur time.
Since we brought her up again in the chat.
Look at her go. I eat vegetables like that, but no one has ever filmed me or put me on NPR.
I was going to say, I should have just filmed myself eating bell peppers like I eat apples, and I would be famous.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're basically apple-shaped.
They are basically apple-shaped, but they're hollow, which is always a bit
hollow,
But that's great, because then it gives you that hollow, like you bite in, and you feel like you broke
your ear. Do you hear the ocean? I heard the ocean in my pepper.
We've all been out to lunch. We've all been out to eat with a group of people and had a salad and realized you've taken way too big of a bite, and then had to basically do dinosaur time and get it down.
Also, so I know you commented during the video, like all the hard and fast like dinosaur names. It was only when I went to one of Riley's talks that I realized there was a dinosaur that I had been mispronouncing my entire life. Like since
Which
I was
was?
4. Diplodocus?
Yeah.
I have been saying Diplodocus
Yep.
my
Diplodocus.
entire life. It is Diplodocus.
Diplodocus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Diplodocus. Well,
thanks
you know what? I have
to-
one better that may make you feel better.
I have a PhD.
Luckily,
No,
I have
it's
a
fine.
one-
I
luckily,
live in Ohio.
I have a 1-year-old, and
Sorry, go ahead.
1-year-olds have dinosaur books. And the first time I came across Diplodocus, I was like, I have to figure out how to say this right. I gotta get this right for him. So, luckily, I had a 1-year-old book teach me how to say Diplodocus.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I was just going to say, I live in Ohio. We live in Ohio. Davey and I both do. And somebody actually came asking for directions to Toledo, by which they meant Toledo. And I didn't know what they were talking about. And I was like, there's no town called Toledo. So, I mean, no, worst things have happened.
It is
Toledo.
was a fun for me when I was living in Philadelphia. The first time tourists would come up and ask questions about the Schuylkill, which is not spelled like that.
Ah, wait, what
Yeah.
is it?
It's spelled okay. SCHUYKYLL, and it's pronounced Schuylkill.
Right.
Yeah.
Not Google, not Toledo either, for that matter.
The Cuyahoga River also trips up a lot of people that visit this area.
For reasons, but you know what? The Cuyahoga River makes sense because it literally sounds like a crooked river, doesn't it? Cuyahoga. This is the sound he was making while he was going Cuyahoga. Okay, we have music, by the way, and we still have a quiz to get through.
And a quiz, yeah. Let's get to those.
Let's get to some music, and then we're gonna get to the quiz, and we're gonna get through the end of a fantastic dino salad show.
Oh, so you want to go west because you know what's best. R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. But you don't know how and it weighs you down. R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. Well, you passed all the tests, but you still can't rest. R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. Time moves on and we're all just pawns. Trust and believe. We'll grow beyond what's here. Harvest the seeds. There's nothing more to fear. Trust and believe. We'll grow beyond our tears. Harvest the seeds. There's nothing more to fear. Well, I have stood where you have stood. R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. But now I'm stone while you're still bone. R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. Well, trust and believe. We'll grow beyond what's here. Harvest the seeds. There's nothing more to fear. Trust and believe. We'll grow beyond our tears, harvest the seeds. There's nothing more to fear, nothing. There's nothing more to fear, except perhaps a nibble on the rear. When you're just fishing off the pier, and a coelacanth appears. Oh, now what the R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon, R-O carry oxylon. Trust and believe, we grow beyond what's here. Harvest the seeds, there's nothing more to fear. Trust and believe, we grow beyond our tears. Harvest the seeds, 'cause there's nothing more to fear.
That's surprisingly catchy. I had to listen to it before it went up, and I have been literally. So you were up in. You said you were insomnia, listening to a meme in your head. I sit awake at night, repeating the name of a deceased conifer. So
Aroxocary oxalon.
Is all it takes.
Arocaryoxylon, yeah. Kristen said this is almost a Ramones song. All right, it is time to be quizzed.
Did we have any peculiars that volunteered to be the official quiz answerer, or is it up to Bethany and Brandy?
No one. I haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any volunteers. So there's sometimes I looked up Bethany. I looked up what we quizzed you on when you were a guest on the show, and for your book Pests, we did a Family Feud style quiz, which we just did for Soreka last week. We did. Do you remember what we did? You blanked it out.
I blanked out.
We did the top 6 cartoon mice of all time. Yeah. So there was something that was mentioned in the book, and I couldn't let it go. I couldn't get past it. The quiz this week is called Dinosaur Farts.
I was thinking about this. I was just thinking about this. Yeah. I
had to. As
we all were, really.
Inspired by dinosaur farts, I went out and looked into the world, and I had to know more about animal farts in general. And I closed the tab. Let me see if I could find it here. So there was a book written, not to give love to another book, but I'm going to give a little love to another book. But it was someone asked on Twitter, basically, do animals fart?
Yeah.
And then it created this whole thread, and then these two people got together and basically wrote a book. So a lot of these facts are from a Vox article about this book, and so that's kind of where
fart, and it's great.
So we all joke that farts can be deadly, but for one insect, they really can be. When in the larval stage, this insect has a chemical in their farts that stun termites, letting the insect eat them. They are the A, dragonfly, B, beaded lacewing, or C, moth. Who has the deadliest farts?
Beaded lacewing.
I'm going to go with the lacewing because I hate those things. They're such a problem around here. I want them to be the fart deadly ones.
The answer is the beaded lacewing. There she is.
We had some guesses. Sorry, we were a little bit late.
They're coming in late. Yeah. Definitely don't hang out with them after Taco Bell. It won't end.
Or me, for that matter. After I go to Taco Bell, I am a beaded lacewing. I think we all are.
Wow.
New slogan for Taco Bell. Yeah. All right. Question number 2. This fish needs to fart to survive. The algae they eat produce gas, which inflates their intestines and causes them to float, where they become easy prey, as you can see from the photo. They need to fart to sink back to safety. They are the blank. The A, pupfish, the B, Hawaiian turkeyfish, or C, the mirrored dory.
That was my snort, sorry.
See, I feel like
I don't know what a dory is.
The pupfish that I know is the devil's hole pupfish, and that is a pupfish that contains its own alcohol. Due to the high temperature, low oxygen environment in which it lives, it actually ferments its own alcohol and is basically runs around with a blood alcohol content that's insane. And so I feel like it can't be the pupfish because of that.
Soreka says top weirdest fact of all time here.
I feel like the Hawaiian turkeyfish has got to be made up. That cannot be real. I vote for the mirror dory.
They all are real fish. I will say that. When I do a quiz like this, I usually find the taxonomy and then find other fish that are in the so they are all real fish.
Bonnie says new dinner party fact unlocked. Okay, so we do have to get the name right now.
All right, so she's going mirrored
Dory, like Finding Dory. Like Finding Dory the fish. So if it's Dory, if it is Dory, then we know how to find her, right? We just follow the smell. Randy says D, the snorting brain.
That bird eating the fish, and that bird looks like it's eating a mirrored Dory, and I don't know why. That's what I'm guessing.
The answer is
right, well, Kristen's going with
A,
B.
the pupfish. The answer is A, the pupfish.
It's a pupfish.
The farting pupfish.
It's a pupfish, so you can still blame it on the dog.
The fermenting is the same thing, right? It's basically the stomach gases and everything like that are just.
The devil's hole pupfish, which is a different species of pupfish.
Oh, okay.
Right, but either way, you can blame it on the dog.
Pupfish are just really like weird on every level. Like every pupfish has something. Everybody has something.
Why are they called pupfish? They don't look like puppies to me.
I don't know. I don't know. Question number 3. The animal kingdom is full of all sorts of farts, but there are a few animals we know that do not fart. Which
fart?
one of these animals is a non-farter? Is it A, the sloth, B, the hippopotamus, or C, the anteaters? These are just the anteater.
It can't be the hippopotamus, right? Like they have a very high fiber diet. I don't believe that. It can't be that. It can't be, right?
I have seen a hippo fart.
Oh.
I have seen it. Yes.
Kristen says go to any zoo. Yeah. Okay, so it's not them. All right. Ooh,
I did see a wonderful wildlife camera that caught a beaver farting. It like comes out of the water, it's like trundling out, and it's just like near the wildlife cam, and it's just like doing its little thing, and all of a sudden you hear.
We've got a lot of guesses, so we seem to be split between A and C here. So we've got some C's, we've got some A's.
I feel like
Bonnie says sloth farts are cute.
Do you think A? I feel like A.
All right, here we go. The answer is
the
animal that does not fart would be A, the sloth. And here's why. They like everything the sloths do. They do it very slowly, including digesting their food.
Right.
And they digest it so slowly that they just reabsorb the gas into their lungs and basically breathe it out.
What? They are farts.
Yes. So they have fart breath. They have fart breath. Yeah.
Fart breath. Wow. Okay. So I found out today that there's a kind of snail that impregnates its partners and lays eggs through its neck. And I feel like fart breath is somehow in the same universe. Is that?
Technically speaking, humans also can have fart breath because, like, how sometimes you don't fart and you like work really hard not to, and it kind of just disappears. You ever have that?
Oh no.
So it's working its way back up. See?
Yes.
It is,
yes,
it is
I know what
working
you're
its way
talking
back
about.
up because it can, and eventually, yes.
I was once a teenage
you're
dancer.
your own
I
bubbler.
know all about holding a.
Oh wow. Susan says she's found her best topic for quizzes. Kristen says, I think it's time for Davey to write a book. The quiz book. Lorelai just says, I love this book club. You know what? Scatological contrivances that we sort of like come across. I thought we were going to talk about coprolites. No, I didn't realize we were going to go to farts instead. Can you get a fossilized fart?
I feel like that's the name of your memoir, The Scatological Contrivances.
So I have to tell you something. I had a line in my dissertation, my PhD dissertation, that was the oh shit, now I'm going to forget what it was. Scatological affluence, or the scatological contrivance of human affluence, or something like that.
Ooh.
And yeah, and my advisor made me take it out.
I think you could get a fossilized fart.
Oh my God, Kristen, I believe your organic chem teacher would say that. That is exactly the sort of thing an organic chem teacher would say. Yes. That is the thing that they would say.
Great episode of Scrubs about great episode of Scrubs about a woman who, like, a very stuck up, a woman who says she didn't fart, and after surgery they need her to fart, so like a resident has to spend the entire day in the room with her waiting for her to fart. And
that is actually true. If you get gastrointestinal abdominal surgery, they will not let you out till you fart.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I think you could get a fossilized fart though, with the whole amber situation, with the whole because like the mosquito getting trapped in the amber. Like if the amber,
this is a great,
and then air bubble gets in there.
So like they're trying to get dinosaur DNA for Jurassic Park, but it would just be Jurassic fart. It would just be a whole
air bubble. The needle goes through an air bubble, and then there goes the fart.
I mean, I have actually been thinking about that ever since I read that chapter of Diplodocus, like hoovering up all of the greenery. I was like, the farts, like that whole area must have just been fart central, because those are some high fiber diets. And those are big, and they hung out in herds.
Well, and they had like big ass cheeks too. So imagine the clappers, like there'd be some reverberation going on there. I'm just saying,
low tuba sound, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if it traveled long distance like elephant calls, you know, you'd be like,
Maybe that's how they communicated over long distances. Like you see, like, oh no,
we haven't, we clearly haven't explored this
dinosaurs are
enough.
going to war, and the dinosaurs all line up in a line, and they're like, "Phew."
and go. I do appreciate the fact that the common word for fart in England is Trump, and I do think that that's yeah. So
This
Trump,
is probably why Riley wasn't on the show tonight. You know, she's like, she wrote this book about beautiful things, and she knew we were just going to talk about farts for 20 minutes.
That's true.
we were just going to talk about farts at the end.
But you know what? Riley
Well,
would
we
love
are going to talk.
to-
I do need to just lasso us back in a little bit, just to say before we leave, this is an amazing book. You can get it now, and it is gorgeous, and the cover is beautiful as well.
I describe this book as it's like touching grass when you read it, but in like the best way.
That's nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like so often you read things and it just kind of makes you angry and anxious and sad. And this just makes you feel better about everything.
That's
Reading,
amazing.
I'm soothed by the awesomeness of time.
Aw, I love that. And actually you can, as I mentioned, you can get this on our bookclub.com shop. So there's a bookclub.com for peculiars. And as soon as I get this stinking website up, it will actually be there, easy for you to find. Wait, before whale songs, dino butt trumpets. Yes, this is. I feel like, you know, we're pulling the threads together in our show. One year, everything we did was about sex. We had a lot of vaginas, like duck vaginas appeared twice.
I remember that year there were like a bunch of vagina books.
There was a lot of vagina books. It was in the Zeitgeist, right?
This is the year
so
of.
This time it's, you know.
Well, this is the second time we've kind of gone through the. This is the second time we've kind of gone through the journey of mammals and like breastfeeding and you know, it's kind of, we're kind of on that.
Yeah, we're moving in a direction
with Eve.
I like
the previous book, Eve.
Oh, that's right. We had that one too.
Yeah.
And now in our next book, we're going to be dancing on Everest, which is a whole thing. So I'm excited about watching the Sherpa documentary because I'm big on docs. So anyway, this has been an exciting evening of all different ways of doing a show, which is really exciting, right? Like we didn't know it was going to be this way, but here we are doing cool shit together. And farts and all kinds of other fun things along the way. Bethany, thank you again for being here and also for interviewing Riley for us so that we could play that and pretend it was live. It was really awesome. I hope Riley is having a better evening. I hope she watches this and is amazed at how silly we can really be about such a beautiful book. Go out and buy the book. Please do. It's really, really good. I think you guys will love it. Oh yeah, the elephant teeth. The elephant teeth was in this book too. So we've also got a lot of teeth things kind of going on. We're covering all of anatomy.
Chapter, yeah. The auto chapter. I only learned today interviewing Riley that I was the inspiration for. I did not know that.
I love it. It's all coming together, man. I'm seeing it. So thank you once again. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Davey, for rushing in after being at the vet's office. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, watchers, for being a part of a show where, if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in the night. Don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote